Hey guys, welcome to the Mamba's Legacy podcast. Here we have Tim from Hornets and Heartbreaks. Hey Tim, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man?
All right, well, to just jumpstart this, Chris Paul went off for 41 points on the Clippers yesterday. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the Clippers? I mean, not the Clippers, the Suns team as a whole, and do you think they have a shot at contending for like winning the finals?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, I'd give him like 90% odds, barring an injury, with how battered and beaten the Bucks are looking and the Hawks. Yeah, I mean, I think the Suns are absolutely massive favorites. What do you think?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, CP3 before that game, he was 36% from the field and 9% from three. And yesterday he went 16 to 24 from the field, zero turnovers and 87% from three. So I think it looks pretty good for Chris Paul. Also, I read earlier, Chris Paul is the oldest player in the NBA like history, uh, who like put up 40 plus points in the closeout game, and he's the second oldest to ever do it in any playoff game.
Man, that is wildly impressive. Good for Chris Paul. I mean, I'm certainly happy for him, but I'm not really surprised. I think over the last 5 years, there's kind of been a narrative, I guess, really ever since like the mid Clippers days, that he's like a playoff choker. But I mean, statistically and eye test wise, it's never really matched up. But it is nice to see him, really get his flowers now and get appreciated, even though he might be like the third best player on his team. But
Yeah, CP3 has always had like bad moments during the playoffs, not like specifically from him playing bad, but just like injuries that have like derailed his team from success. And then because of that, mainly pointing at, Rockets, for example, they kind of always pointed the finger at Chris Paul when it really wasn't him. It was just, he just wasn't, durable enough at that time. But he's like completely rebuilt that narrative, and he's leading a team that last year, you know, they couldn't even touch the playoff spot.
no, yeah, it's great. And, yeah, it is certainly nice to see Chris do this. I think it's funny. We love to bash on DeAndre Jordan. We love to bash on Doc Rivers. We love to call James Harden a choke artist. Blake Griffin can never stay healthy. Yada yada yada. But then we all just shit on Chris Paul at the same time. It's like, maybe this dude's just had bad luck. And at the end of the day, only one team wins a championship. I would say his original Hornet teams were never really truly in contention. If you look at the talent they had, the Clippers teams looked good, very good on paper, but again, how good was DeAndre Jordan really? Matt Barnes was starting playoff games. And then, yeah, Houston, he has a chance, but I mean, what are you going to do? You can't beat the Warriors every year. So yeah, it's good. It's weird that he has that such a transformation after the age of 35. It's like 3 years ago, everyone just hated Chris Paul, and now he's like the lovable uncle of the NBA. It's crazy.
As a Raptors fan, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Kyle Lowry a bit because before he actually like before his prime hit at like age 28, you know, coaches said that he was an uncoachable player, and then a few years later he wins a championship, and he was the second slash third option on most of those games. So I think that's a very relatable story to how CP3 is doing. In other news though, we got to talk about um the Clippers side of things. Do you think they still have a chance for like, next year, or is it going to be a blow up?
No, I think they absolutely have a chance next year. I think so Reggie Jackson is their big X factor as far as money coming this offseason. I think it's assumed that Kawhi will sign the 5 year max. They'll be all set. I mean, realistically, you're not going to get this many injuries every postseason. But if you have even like one of the next 3 years where Kawhi and Paul George can both stay healthy, then yeah, I mean, you have to consider them one of the 3 to 5 favorites to win the championship. And at that point, I mean, it's not like the Clippers have anything else going on.
Yeah, speaking about Reggie Jackson, he absolutely balled out. He averaged 18, 3, and 3 on 40 splits, and he has the current most three-pointers recorded in the playoffs so far.
That is just a ridiculous comeback for Reggie Jackson. Happy for him. I mean, he was aesthetically one of like the five worst players, and statistically, one of like the bottom 25 most harmful players the last 3 years. And yeah, now he's been great. Good for him. It's wild, the former OKC guard resurgence between Reggie Jackson and Cameron Payne this postseason. It's great to see him.
I think OKC has just had a bad luck of, for some reason, players that came from that bench, specifically in the guard area, have just resurged into maybe, well, one superstar and two really good pieces. We all know the one superstar since he has a beard that's kind of can't really miss it. But Cameron Payne, he's been I mean, in some of those games you could say he was the best CP on the court. And Reggie, he's honestly been a number two option while Kawhi was out. Paul George, he deserves a lot more credit, but he did have his inconsistencies. For example, he shot 42% from the field and 29% from three throughout those games. But at the same time, he got ran to the absolute ground. I mean, he was playing every minute, every single game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really easy to pick on Paul George. I feel like he's kind of like NBA Twitter's whipping boy. But I mean, the reason people kill him is the talent is so tantalizing. He's 6'9", he can get up 10 threes a game, really good efficiency. In theory, can get to the hoop. So it's easy to pick on him. But yeah, he is inconsistent. But he's like the 20th best player in the NBA. And if you can, get this type of run, what was it, about 26 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists this playoffs on a pretty solid splits. I mean, obviously Paul George is always going to have his rough spots there, but yeah, it's easy to kill him. But if you just, look at Paul George for what he is and like a great second banana, yeah, good for him. Once again, we're giving everyone a pat on the back this episode.
Yeah, because I mean, like, other than that Patrick Beverly push at the end of the game, I think,
Yeah.
everything was very, well, everyone kind of deserves their flowers. Even Patrick Beverly, he had 11 points and he crossed Chris Paul.
Hey,
And before that moment, he broke Booker's ankles but just missed the layup.
In classic Pat Bev fashion. Yeah, you know what? I'm just a total sucker. I saw his apology today. I thought it was kind of funny. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of, like the kid whose mom like pushes him over and makes an apology. But like, he went out there and did it. It's not like Pat Bev's worried about like endorsements or anything. That was just like a genuine apology. I thought that was pretty funny.
No, I don't. I think if Patrick Beverly didn't want to apologize, he wouldn't have apologized. It's Patrick Beverly. It's not like LeBron. He's not like, if LeBron did something like that, he'd like, next minute just like apologize and get like all of his Disney and sport logos back and shit. But Patrick Beverly, Beverly, he hasn't even really apologized to Westbrook fully yet. I don't think he'd apologize to CP without any hesitation.
Yeah, underrated part of the Pat Bev story that he totally just caused Russell Westbrook to tear up his knee, and like no one really even cares about it because Pat Bev is just such a dick. Other than that, it's just like a footnote alongside the other terrible things he's done.
Yep. Well, now that we've covered that whole storyline, I think it's time to get on the Hawks versus Bucks series. The games are going to come on in just a little bit now, but so Giannis is out. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, this is just one of those, it kind of sucks, but I mean, if you're the Bucks, I don't see how you could really justify rolling him out there. You can't push him to play. He's the best player in franchise history about this point. Either him or Kareem, obviously, just like, you just kind of have to take this L and hope that next season come back stronger. It's a bummer. They still have a chance to beat the Hawks. It's not like the Hawks are like, the 2017 Warriors or anything. Chris Middleton, could, pull an upset. But yeah, if you're a Bucks fan, I guess the blessing in disguise is hopefully you guys fire Budenholzer after this, and this kind of gives you an easy cop out answer to do so. But the rest of your team is locked in going forward. You have your three main guys, and maybe you just hope you hit on a draft pick, your one draft pick.
Yeah, don't count out the Bucks yet. You never know when James Christian Middleton will turn into prime Michael Jordan. But so one of the main things was the whole Giannis being gone is the Bucks in the regular season for this year were 40-21 when Giannis played, and 6-5 when he didn't. Which I broke down some of the numbers, and it's honestly not that big of a difference, really. Other than defensive rating and a bit of field goal percentage matters, but obviously in the playoffs and the regular season they're very different. I think that they still are they really are still in it, even with Giannis gone. It really just forces the Bucks to really come together fully as a team and not just rely on Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that even though Giannis is their best defensive player, I mean, their half court offense is pretty abysmal. Let's just say it. I mean, the conference finals have kind of sucked. The semifinals were great. It is a bummer. I love Lou Williams. I love the Terrence Mann story. I mean, it's not great. It's not preferred view. I watch every game. I mean, I love basketball. I have time on my hands anyway. But yeah, no, it's a bummer. It's a bummer that Giannis is out. And yeah, it's we cross our fingers and hopefully Chris Middleton and Kevin Huerter have a duel and we can watch that. But otherwise, yeah, we're gonna catch a 102-95 game, and pretty much whichever team's random fourth man hits some threes will probably win the game and the series. And then I think they will get steamrolled by the Suns in the finals.
Pretty much every single series, there's been at least one player out. At least I think so. Or one player has been injured in some type of way.
Yeah, if you're including Jamal Murray and that as well, pre postseason injuries. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Embiid, he was playing on a torn meniscus and still dropping 50, pretty much. Then you have Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, CP3 was out for a little bit. Booker broke his nose because, well, our favorite player in history, Patrick Beverley. AD was hurt. LeBron was still around 75%. It's been a pretty rough ride, but overall, this is a good, the matchups in general are a good thing for the NBA, because having, teams like the Phoenix Suns and the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks and etc., it creates a bigger diversity where it's not just you don't see the Cavs and the Warriors running at it every single season. But speaking about Lou Williams. You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say no. I think it absolutely is a good thing. It is a little change of pace. Yeah, I mean, it was the Cavs versus Warriors, especially once Durant got there. It was pretty boring. We just call it like it is. I mean, just knowing we had to try to convince ourselves that the Raptors. No offense, you're a Raptors fan. I was a big Raptors fan as well. But it's we had to talk ourselves is DeMar DeRozan gonna get it done? Yeah, this is much better.
Yeah, having the same people getting beat. I mean, it was kind of close with VO's Pacers. That's the only team that I actually thought could really truly upset LeBron, because they just they pose a lot bigger of a threat than honestly my Raptors did. Since DeRozan, he kind of fell short a lot of the times. But
Kyle Lowry's my favorite non-Hornet player, and I have legitimate ill will towards DeMar DeRozan. I feel he has wasted a big chunk of Kyle Lowry's career and gotten him unnecessary slander. But DeMar seems like a great guy. So
I could think that, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure Lowry said in an interview that in the 2013 season when him and Rosen were playing, the fact that him and Rosen were so good together, it made the Raptors not trade Lowry to New York, because the Raptors wanted to trade Lowry to New York, and that could have, I could have killed his career in some ways.
Yeah, I think it absolutely would. Yeah.
I mean, what was that? Yeah, that was around Melo times, and well, if you're playing with Melo, you don't really get the ball. So,
No, Kyle Lowry would have been running the triangle. Yeah, that would be pretty rough.
as Russell Westbrook once said, he ain't doing shit but running. The Hawks have been really good defensively throughout the postseason, which was a major like question about them. One of the main factors about that is Clint Capella. He's averaging around a block and 11 rebounds per game. John Collins, he's averaging like half a block and 14 rebounds, and both of them are under 110 for a defensive rating. A little bit of advanced stat nerd for you right there, but yeah. I mean, John Collins, he's never really been known as a plus defender before this postseason.
No, I mean, I feel like that's always been the biggest thing. I mean, I've always viewed John Collins, honestly, it's just total empty stats. I was like, man, he'd be like a good big off the bench. It was like a rich man's Montrezl Harrell. Yeah, I didn't think he had this in him. It's been great to see.
Yeah, Cameron Reddish has also been a surprise for me since, I mean, he was viewed as a bust, and they were really just going to replace him with DeAndre Hunter. But Cam Reddish, since Hunter's been injured, Herter can't play every single minute. They've been running Cam Reddish in some of the lineups recently, and it's actually been working. He's been a really good defender, and he's been like a little bit, wishy-washy at times. But overall, he's averaging around like 11 points, and he's shooting pretty efficiently for what he does.
No, yeah, and I like the Hawks draft strategy too. Just like take as many wings as you can, because on average, like only 1 out of 3 is going to work out. Like the Hornets have like a similar thing with like PJ Washington and Miles Bridges and like Jalen McDaniels, and now like this upcoming draft, probably going to draft another wing, and people are worried about it. It's just like, man, just take all the wings you can, because yeah, DeAndre Hunter, maybe he will show up. Maybe his knee never really gets better. Maybe Reddish wouldn't show up, but it's like Reddish, Huerter, God, we were just talking about him. Hunter. It's just like, man, just get this stack of wings to go around Trae Young, and one of them will work out, and you really only need one to hit.
Speaking about the Hornets, you're forgetting, that big ass Nick Batum contract that y'all gave him. So that's another wing that would have, I mean, if you didn't cut him and if he didn't go to the Clippers, then I mean, that would just be another place for minutes that, you would not want to give him.
Yeah.
I think like the NBA is a general, in this general theory, most teams are upsizing guards and downsizing like forwards, which I mean that's what I can see as the most. I can like if you've ever played like 2K, then everyone runs like 6-7 lineups and stuff and etc. like that. So
100%.
At this point, I'm feeling like there's going to be some team that just runs like 5 guys all standing at like 6'6" to 6'8". Just imagine like 5 Paul Georges on the same team, and then that's just gonna be it. No more like little guy stories. It's just gonna kind of be more towards the size of like everyone being so switchable that like it just offsets the entire idea of a DeAndre Ayton or Rudy Gobert or etc.
Yeah, I always try to ride for Rudy. I feel like he gets a tough rap, but yeah, that was pretty brutal. And that's what the Clippers did. I mean, they ran out. Morris is the big, yeah, like my go-to in 2K for my bench lineup, I always go Joe Ingles as my center, and I'm just like, man, I'm running it. But I'm like, well, that would never work in real life. And I'm like, man, fuck. It's like, maybe that would just work. Like, it wouldn't work all the time, but it's like, man, maybe, yeah, you could just run out a Morris brother at the 5. I mean, Especially, it was weird that Aiton didn't punish him. Aiton has such a weird game to me. Like, I like it. I think it's aesthetically pleasing, but he just has like this Greek god body, and you just think that he would put dudes in the basket. But he's got like a lot of finesse to him. Sometimes it's frustrating, but obviously it works. He's incredibly efficient. But yeah, when I first saw him, I assumed he'd be like this just bruiser in the post, and it's really not the case.
Um, Aiden's interesting because he shoots like 70-80%, but in
Yeah.
some games it just feels like he doesn't do that. Like some games it just feels like what he does. And I remember watching it last night. Instead of like directly just putting Batum on his ass, what he decided to do, he just went with like this fadeaway post hook. And I'm just like, you're getting guarded by a guy who got cut like last year. You're really gonna do that. Like Nick Batum is a good defender. He was a really good defender for the Clippers, but Aiden's just very weird in the ways that he attacks the paint. He kind of reminds me of like Embiid during the regular season. Like when Embiid went against like really superstar level like centers and stuff, for some reason he would stop trying to like, or no, not superstar. When he was playing against a superstar center, he went like full beast mode. But when he against like role players and etc., like I remember when he went against the Raptors, and we did not have any center depth this year. We had
No,
Aaron
Chris
Baines
Boucher,
and
Aaron Baines.
holy God, I hope if Aaron Baines goes to the Raptors, or if he stays on the Raptors next season, then I might have to just pull the plug and call my life quits. But Embiid does this thing where he tries to go for like a more finesse game. He goes for like post fades and etc., which he's normally really good at, but sometimes it costs him. I think that's kind of just like eight in most games, unless he's directly told by someone, be aggressive.
Yeah, that's like, I pretty much I subscribe to 95% of like new age theories, but like I do feel like Gene Hackman and Hoosiers when I watch Aiden. I was like, why don't you just get more aggressive? Like post up, post up. It seems so obvious. Obviously, there's a reason for it. I'm sure the Suns know better than I do. But yeah, it is mind-boggling to see. Yeah, especially against Nick Batum, Charlotte's most hated.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think we're about to probably call it wraps in a little bit, but Lou Will, I want to speak on this. He dropped 21 yesterday, and Draymond, he tweeted, y'all sleeping on Lou Williams just because he was like a bench player doesn't mean he can't cook y'all. And obviously Draymond would know. He would
Right?
probably know the best, considering that when Lou Williams went against the Warriors in 2019, he averaged 22 and 8 against them. So I'm not sure how productively or efficiently or consistently Lou will do that. But I mean, if he keeps on putting his mindset that he's a Clipper, then I don't know.
No,
Scary
yeah.
things.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Lou Will and guys like Lou Will is, talking about like advanced stats. He's never going to have a great on off. His defense is just too bad. But that's like the beauty of the NBA is these like gunner dudes. They don't play any defense and they just get hot 3 times throughout the playoffs. It's one of the most beautiful things we have. So Lou Williams, if I had to bet on it, he will not do this again. But you'll remember the Lou Williams Eastern Conference Finals game in like 3 years. You're like, man, that was really fun.
Or the Bryn Forbes game in the first round.
Or the Bryn, yeah, that was great too. Yeah, you always just look back at those random little outbursts. It's like, yeah, definitely not sustainable, but it's beauty of the game. Gotta love gunners.
It's just fun to see like bench players like cook up, especially in the most vital part of their entire career. Because in the playoffs, you're not supposed to have Terrence Mann scoring 39. And if you're in the playoffs, you probably shouldn't let him score 39. But that's just like that's just something that's just fun about the NBA. You never can predict what will happen. Like you can predict some things. You can predict that like Curry will hit a 3-pointer. You can predict that LeBron's gonna like dunk on someone. You can't predict that Brent Forbes is gonna score more than Jimmy Butler.
Nah, yeah, that's one of just the most twisted stats, man. That's so perfect. Especially after Jimmy talked all season about, man, just, let them get me to the playoffs. I'll take it from there. It's like, man, we really forgot that Jimmy Butler was Jimmy Butler for like 6 months. That's like the third craziest part of 2020.
Hey, I am super locked in. I am like, I've never been this more locked in my entire career.
It shoots 28%. Disgusting. What a fraud superstar. Oh my
All right,
God.
before we get into that entire thing, because I don't want Heat Twitter just like absolutely roasting my ass.
Well, one last thing. Heat Twitter and Heat culture, it's all a damn lie. Pat Riley is a shyster. Eric Spoelstra is the only good thing about that franchise. Get that Udonis Haslam bullshit out of here. Sorry, you can cut that if you want, but I hate the Heat.
All right, you heard that, Heat fans. Please don't riot at my house. Okay. Anyways, guys, thank you, Tim, for coming on. If you want any shameless plugs that you want to add in, then go ahead. Here's the red carpet.
Yeah, absolutely. I host the Hornets and Heartbreak podcast with my co-host Mark Bernacki. We drop every Wednesday. Just check us out. We're doing like general NBA stuff, obviously, Hornets centric for the first half, but yeah, just general NBA takes. And we slander the Heat pretty much every episode. So check it out.
All right. See ya.